Hey guys, it's Max Convexity here. All right, I want to do a really quick explanation video. I had a very good question from a viewer, subscriber, viewer, whatever. Let's see what this is. Okay, KJK Good, and they comment all the time, and I really enjoy their comments. They said, how does the share count increase so much? What exactly is the mechanism? And I said, all month long, as people buy and sell shares for that matter, but as they buy shares, the fund issues more shares. These are called creation units. It's kind of a funny name, creation units, but Jay talked about it a little bit on his video with the coach, and that's the first time I'd ever heard of it, but that they physically create more shares as people buy them. So as they create shares, the good news is on the next business day, the fund has more money to sell more options with. The bad news is there's more pigs at the trough to feed. You got to split the money. You have to split the money more ways. This could be a weakness of these types of funds. You know, a lot of people say, I'm going to wait 2 or 3 months to see how it does. That you get the most explosive growth in a fund in the first couple of months. This may be another good reason to wait until the fund stops growing so much so something like this doesn't happen to you. Because as the shares grow, it dilutes the earnings per share. So once the fund is mature, the share count shouldn't change all that much. I checked out JEPY and QQQY the other day, and their share counts increased by 10 or 20% or something over the course of the month. You know, so that was an almost unnoticeable dilution in their share price. IWMY is newer, and everyone was talking about how good it was, me included. And so I think people saw those updates, and other people track it on their own. I'm not the only one that does spreadsheets and keeps track of this. I'm probably the only one on the internet, but there's tons of people that do this. And everyone's going, holy cow, this is doing great. We got to get some shares of this. So the IWMY share count increased 7x this month. So that's what led to all the dilution, and I have a way to illustrate this. All right, let's go to the old spreadsheet. This is last month's spreadsheet, but it's actually exactly what I need. Plus, I haven't made this month's yet. This bottom row is this month's transaction, so we're going to ignore the bottom row, and we're going to look at the running earning per share estimate. This is the way Retire on Dividends figured it when he got it the closest. It's just the earnings divided by the shares. All right, so in fact, I think it paid $1, and if you look at my estimate, it landed exactly on $1 on declaration date. So you know, I think that's the cheat code. I think that's what they do, or that's what they did this month anyway. Here's the thing. So let's look at these shares. Every day I update how many shares the fund has, and I also update how big the fund is growing. These grow together. The more shares, the bigger the fund is. But for the purpose of earnings per share, we need to look at the share count. So Jax is chewing on something in the background. He has a little toy. If you can hear him, I apologize. All right, so I don't really talk about this much in the updates. I just keep this share count updated just so my math turns out right. All right, so the way it worked out, it came out to $1 per share. That's great. The problem was people who were tracking this, me included, and other YouTubers, were like 120%. That's a lot of money. And this is true. This fund earned 8 cents a share. This fund earned that much daily capture, nearly half a point a day. But by the end of the month, the distribution wasn't that much because of the share dilution. So let me do this to illustrate a point. So we started off with 3.7 million shares. And then we went up to 7 million shares. Then we went to 14 million shares. So that's a pretty good increase there. That's like a 3x increase. But let's just say that the share count would have stopped at that point. No one else would have bought any the rest of the month. So we're going to keep it at 14 million. Look what that does to the profit. $2.12 or 120%. Well, look at this, 120%. So we can take some dilution in the share price. You know, that's going from 4 million to 14 million. What is that, 2.5 times? Yeah, we can do that. Here, let's wind this. Let's run this back and let's test some more dilution. Let's see if we stopped it at, oh, let's see if we stopped it at 22 million. Let's say if it stopped going up here. Let's see what that does. All right, well, that's some more dilution because that only gives you a result of $1.32. Then if they would have stopped here, or if no one would have bought any more shares after this date, after the 18th, we would have the fund managers would have been able to pay $1.32 or 74 cents. All right. So, but you know, as the way it turned out, let me rewind this. As the way it turned out, you know, by the time it got up here, it totally diluted it. It diluted it about half versus what it, you know, what it could have been, you know, with less dilution. But suffice it to say, if everyone wouldn't have bought shares, you know, and we would have had some reasonable dilution. It looks like by reasonable, it can go up 2 times, maybe even 3 times. Let's test a 3-time dilution and see what that does. All right, so we started off with 3.7 million, so 3 times would be, well, we did pretty much test 3 times. Okay. Let's just say if it stopped at 7, let's test 2-time solution. We don't really have to. We know it's going to be more. We know the less dilution there is, the better it is. And we can handle some dilution. You know, we can handle 2.5 times. Let's go to, let's say 3 to 17 is more like 4 times dilution. So let's check that one out real quick. All right, yeah, 4 times dilution is $1.74 or 99%. So the more dilution, the less earnings, because the more people you have to take care of. So the magic number, it looks like where we could have been happy with it is if it had been diluted no more than about 2.5 times. So that's a new metric I'm going to look at when I'm looking at these funds. I'll probably start tracking some other funds too when we have new funds come online. I thought about tracking ISPY, but I'm not thrilled about it if anyone saw my last little rant on ISPY. But point being, I'm going to be really into keeping an eye on the share price dilution. And I might even make a special metric for it. But even without the special metric, the running estimate over here in this column, the running estimate gives you what the fund should pay, you know, given the share price dilution. Like I say, it landed right on $1, and I believe that's what they paid. So anyway, like I say, I've apologized a million times. I'm not just saying that, you know, to get clicks or whatever. I sincerely feel terrible about this. I should have caught this. I've been doing this a long time. I've been trading options a long time, but ETFs, no. Other than selling options on ETFs, I'm not an ETF guy, and I've certainly never bought a high yield ETF. You know, so here's another way to think about it. If I was doing this and I got some partners and I got like 3 or 4 of you guys and we got together at the first of the month and we all put in $10,000 or whatever, and you know, and then we started selling options, this is what we would have earned, 120%, you know, half a point a day. That's realistic. But, you know, in an ETF scenario where people can buy during the middle of the month and dilute your shares, that's not always realistic. Let me give you the other side of that equation. Because I guess you could make, the ETF could make a rule, no one buys after the first of the month. They could, I guess that might be a closed-end fund, but they're a different type of fund, but you could do that. But the thing that's great about the ETF is the liquidity it offers. Wonder if something happens in the middle of the month and, I don't know, you have a car wreck and you need to pay, or you have to go to the hospital and you have a bill or something, you have to pay a deductible and you need to come up with $10,000 real quick or something. That's the great thing about ETFs or about any liquidly traded stock or just any stock in America. You can sell it and it's either the next business day or 3 business days later. It's 1 business day on options, and I think it's 3 business days on stocks, which is ridiculous. It ought to be 1 business day. But in any event, you can have the money pretty darn quick in your account. And so the liquidity is a good thing. And if this was a different type of fund that didn't allow investing, you know, it didn't allow people to buy shares or sell shares after the first day of the month. It would be way less liquid and thus a lot less attractive to a lot of people. Liquidity is king. Cash is king. These investments aren't cash, but they can be turned into cash very quick. Unlike, say, if you have a rent house or something. A rent house cannot be turned into cash very quick. You can take out a loan against it. You can do other stuff. But as far as liquidity goes, a stock that's listed on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange is just about as liquid as you can get outside of just having cash. All right, guys. Have a good one.